Story time about how I broke up my best friend and his girlfriend. So it was our sophomore year in high school, and my best friend and I had known each other since we were like 8 years old. And I've always had a crush on him. Like anytime he would get a girlfriend, I would try and break them up. And it would work. Well, our freshman year of high school, he started dating this one girl. Well, when he started dating her, he distanced himself from me because she didn't like how much time we were spending together. So a few months go by and my birthday's coming up. And mind you, within these past few months, we only seen each other like twice. And he had me blocked on all social media. Well, our parents were really good friends because we lived in the same cul-de-sac. So my mom invited him and his parents to my birthday party. So at the end of my party, my friends left and him and his parents stayed. And my parents really didn't care if I drank alcohol, so we had like a whole bottle of vodka to ourselves. So we're in the basement and we're taking shots together. Well, I got him super drunk and he fell asleep. And while he was sleeping, I went on his phone and like for part 2. Part 2. And I was able to get into his phone because he stole my fingerprint from when we were best friends. So I unblocked myself on all social medias. And there was an ottoman pushed against the couch. So while he was sleeping, I was able to go lay next to him. So while I was laying next to him, I took a few pictures of us. And I saved them in his camera roll. And I also sent one to his girlfriend. And it was about 1 in the morning. Well, she opened it right away, and then she started going off and would not stop calling his phone. So after that, I turned his phone off. So he started to wake up, and then we started drinking more. And then we started fooling around. And while we were doing the nasty, I took a video. But he didn't see it because the phone was in front of me. And I had his girlfriend on Snapchat. So what did I do? I sent the motherfucking video to her. So the next day, obviously, he found out what happened. So then he came over to my house to talk to me. And I told him how I was upset that she was keeping him from me. So he broke up with her and started dating me.
Like in elementary, I was bullied a lot. One day, this girl, we could call her Jenny. Jenny was having a birthday party. So obviously I wasn't invited, so I basically begged for an invitation. And I remember Jenny was like, okay, if you're like my servant for like a week, like I'll give you an invitation. Long story short, I was a servant for a week and she gave me an invitation to her party. This is the best part! It's the best part! So finally, party day came. My mom was driving me to the party. We were going to the address that the girl gave me. So we finally get to the house. The house was looking dead. Like it didn't have balloons, nothing. So I was like, maybe they're just not done decorating. So I go and knock the door. And you know who answers the door? You're never gonna guess who. My fucking teacher. It was my teacher's house. Jenny gave me the address of my teacher, not her fucking birthday party. I just wanted.
So I already posted part 2 twice already, but you know, TikTok took it down like usual. So I'm gonna attempt to say it in a different way. I almost got shot at a party. Storytime. Part 2. So me and my friend went to the front of the house because we were tearing it up on the dance floor and your girl was just, you know, a little hot. So we took a step outside, which is where we saw the drug deal happening in the front of the house. Everything was fine. We were all just chilling until all of a sudden, the guys that were doing the drug deal started arguing. Me and my friend just sat back and watched the show. And then one of the guys arguing pulled out his gun and started waving it around, yelling at the other dude, telling him, "Where's my money?" As he's waving his gun around, he accidentally shoots it. The bullet hit a car and broke the window. I was legit standing this far from the car. So me and my friend booked it, called an Uber, and went home. Peace out. God.
Storytime about how I found out that my boyfriend was trying to get with another girl on Valentine's Day. Okay, there's a lot that goes into this story time, so let me break it down for you real quick. I was a sophomore and my boyfriend and I had been dating for about 4 months now. And he was a junior. Well, there was this girl that he was for some reason obsessed with in his Spanish class. She was a freshman. And I know you're probably thinking, oh, well, how did you know he was obsessed with her? Well, he would Snapchat this girl 24/7. Even his friends told me he was obsessed with her. So I talked to him and I told him I was uncomfortable with how much he was talking to this girl. And he said, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I'll block her. Now, I didn't ask him to do that, but it made me feel more confident in how he felt about me. Well, Valentine's Day comes around. And we didn't talk all day until he came to pick me up. I wished him a happy Valentine's Day and got left undelivered. So we get to the restaurants and we decide to put our phones at the end of the table so that way we would be more focused on each other. Well, he goes to the bathroom and then I see this name pop up on his phone. Like for part 2. Part 2. So, like I said, I saw this name on his phone, and there was something special about this name. So, whenever I kept streaks, I would put the word streak, and then an emoji, and then the person's name. And he got the idea that instead of keeping her name, he would put it as streak. So I was like, that's really fucking weird. And at first I was like, what the fuck? So I opened his phone, and what do you know? It's from that girl. And she was replying back to a big paragraph that he sent her. And we had school that same day. So at 6:30 in the morning, this girl got a big paragraph from my boyfriend about how she's such a beautiful, amazing girl, and that she deserves somebody who's gonna take her out and buy her flowers and stuff. And how if she wanted to go out to dinner, let him know. He took an extremely long time in the bathroom, so the waiter came to our table. So I ordered $300 worth of food for myself. So when he came back, I told him that I had to go call my mom, and I left. And he was stuck with a $400 bill.
And I drive around, don't fill it up. Why it's getting colder when the sun comes out.
Yellow and yellow? Is this a story time? Yes, it is. Sorry it took so long. This story is about toxic friends. It happened my sophomore year of college. I've basically been friends with the same group of people since freshman year, give or take some people who have transferred or stopped being our friends, etc. But it's basically been the same core group of 8 people. Then sophomore year comes around and this new girl transfers to our school and gets integrated into our friend group. My friends and I, we kind of just make fun of each other all the time. It's not that serious. We don't actually hate each other, but we act like we hate each other. And this girl was similar. She had a similar sense of humor, so we were all for it. Yeah, cool, come hang out with us. And everything was fine for a while until halfway through the year. Things started changing. The girl that had transferred to our school kind of attached herself to this other girl that was in our friend group since freshman year, and they legitimately became inseparable. And the girl she attached herself on was actually my roommate. I post all the parts of my stories in a row, so part 2 coming right now. Toxic Friend Storytime Part 2. So the girl transferred and had attached herself to my roommate. I lived in a quad, so the 2 other girls lived with us as well. And I won't lie, I was probably the least close to my roommate. Here's where it gets juicy. This is Luke, he's one of my best friends. He is where the drama starts. Now don't get me wrong, I love him very much. But back then, he was kind of going through a phase of just being a dingbat. He and my roommate were besties since freshman year, and he was not being the greatest friend at that time. He was going through stuff, so it was kind of understandable, but you get the point. So my roommate, who literally is the least confrontational person I've ever met in my life, can't even make eye contact with you if she disagrees with you. Super passive. Honestly, it was really annoying. Instead of talking to Luke directly about hey, you're not being a really good friend, you're hurting my feelings, she just complained to the girl who had transferred to our school. Because they're besties now. I'll post part 3 right now. Storytime about toxic friends part 3. So instead of talking to him directly to resolve the issue, she just complained about him to this new girl. In my personal opinion, I think they were probably bashing him behind closed doors for a while. I can kind of understand why my roommate was all ticked off, but this girl who just transferred had absolutely no business being as offended as she was. It was between Luke and my roommate, and it should not have involved anyone else. So time goes on, tension is building, they start hanging out with us less and less, until it's finals week of the first semester of sophomore year. Apparently, my roommate had set up a mediation with Luke through his roommate to talk to him. The rest of us in the friend group were oh my god, finally, you're gonna talk and resolve it. And they had a talk, and according to Luke, apparently everything was kind of resolved. They weren't gonna be best friends again, but they were cool now. And we had a huge lab final the next day because we were in the same class, and so I was just glad that it got over with before finals so that he could concentrate. But that is not what happened. Oh, at all. Posting part 4 right now. Storytime about toxic friends, part 4. So we had a really important final the next day. Everything seemed like it was resolved. And then I get a text at 1 a.m. from Luke. Of course I'm awake, because who needs sleep? And he texted me, he's dude, this girl and your roommate are coming over to my room. They're in my apartment. Now, our apartments, fortunately, were literally across the hall from each other, not even 10 feet away. So I was do you need me to come over there? I will come over there. And he's no, I just want to, I don't want to make a big deal out of it. And I was I'll come over there, I'll do it. And he's no, it's fine. So they come into his room while he's studying for our final. My roommate had already talked to him about her business, and it seemed like it was fine. And the girl who had transferred in just laid into him out of nowhere, saying all kinds of crap she had no right to be saying. In the middle of the night. right before an important final, which they knew that he had because we talked about it. We talked about it a lot that we had this final. Posting part 5 right now. Story about toxic friends, part 5. So the night before a final, 1 a.m., they burst into his room out of nowhere, completely uninvited. Apparently his roommate let them into their apartment. And this girl who transferred was saying all kinds of crap. To put it bluntly, she told him all the things that were horrible about him, and that she thinks that she didn't like about him, and things that he needed to work on. And told him that he needed to go to therapy more than once. Basically forcing her opinion on him and telling him a whole list of things that were bad about him. Which is totally something you do with somebody who has seasonal depression in the middle of that seasonal depression. Which is why he was not being the greatest friend. But you know, I digress. So an hour passes and he texts me all of what happened. And I'm fuming. Unbridled rage at the fact that this chick thinks that she had the right to do that when she has only known us a couple of months. Posting part 6 right now. Storytime about toxic friends, part 6. So the next day comes, I wake up to go to our calculus class at 8 a.m. that I have with Luke. He doesn't show because he didn't get any sleep for, I don't know, maybe 2 people coming into his room in the middle of the night and telling him all these horrible things about himself that he already has problems with. So this girl that we had become friends with in class was like, hey, where's Luke? And this girl who we were friends with was roommates with the girl who had transferred. But she was super chill and we love her. So she's like, where's Luke? And I didn't know if she knew, and Luke asked me not to say anything because I knew everything that happened. So I was like, oh, he didn't get a lot of sleep, some crazy things happened last night. And she's like, oh yeah, I heard about that. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, a little bit. And I was like, I just don't know why they were there so late at night. And we were having this talk as we were walking to the cafeteria. We say bye, she goes to her room, I go to the cafeteria. Get myself some breakfast. Guess who's there? My roommate, this girl that transferred, and Luke's roommate. I had to act like I didn't know anything, so I sat with them. Posting part 7 right now. Storytime about toxic friends, part 7. This one's a long one. So I sat down at the table to have breakfast. I acted like everything was normal. I didn't say a dang thing. And then the girl that transferred apparently saw me talking to her roommate as we were walking to the cafeteria. And she goes, so I guess Luke told you everything, huh? And I was like, huh? Trying to feign ignorance. I don't really remember what she said because I kind of was just seeing red at this point. But she said something like, why are you talking to my roommate about stuff? It's none of your business. It's no one else's business. And I was just like, huh? She assumed that I was talking shit about her to her roommate. And I said, for your information, all you talked about is that Luke wasn't in class this morning for reasons. And she just kept saying, I just don't understand why anybody else is, it's not their business, it's not their business. And I was like, bitch! So I was like, I don't know what you're trying to say, but he's our friend, and if you're gonna be mean to him, it's our business. And she gets up and leaves because she doesn't want to deal with it. Cause she knows I'm gonna lay into her. They're afraid of me, with my mama bear. Posting part 8 right now. Storytime about toxic friends, last part. So she leaves because she knows I'm gonna get at her, leaving me with my roommate and Luke's roommate. Might I add, my roommate and Luke were best friends for a really long time, and she was in the room while this girl was saying all these horrible things about Luke, and she didn't say a dang thing. She just stood there. So at this point, I'm so mad I'm crying, because I could just imagine how Luke felt while this was happening. And Luke's roommate, who kind of knew what was going on, was like, we were just trying to have an intervention about his behavior because it was getting out of hand. And I was like, no, that is not an intervention. An intervention is something that happens out of love and concern. What y'all did was a straight up personal attack. Bullying. I just don't understand how you guys thought that was cool. I don't understand your mentality to think that that was cool in any way. And he was like, yeah, it wasn't the way it was supposed to be. My roommate wouldn't even look at me. She just stared at the table. No eye contact. So I got fed up and left. I still had to live with that girl for the rest of the year. We're not friends with them anymore. And to this day, she doesn't look at me.